Part of the taking over of Morrill Hall was really about black students saying, we are not going to continue to live on a campus that is exclusionary and racist.
Campus in Conflict, the Morrill Hall Takeover by Hemeti. In January 1969, there was a takeover of Morrill Hall at the University of Minnesota by a group of black students who sought justice to make the U of M more inclusive and welcoming. The students challenged Malcolm Moose, president of the U of M, to change things on campus with 7 demands. The lack of response by Moose and the U of M to the demands escalated the conflict. The student takeover lasted 24 hours in negotiations with the administration, which resulted in a compromise on the demands and the commitment to continue making the U of M better for black students. In the 1960s, segregation and discrimination was happening, while the civil rights movement was moving ahead full steam. One of the things the civil rights movement was fighting for was education and desegregating the schools. Previously, Brown v. Board of Education had been passed in 1954, which desegregated public schools. Because of Brown v. Board, black students started going to white institutions. In the 1950s, about 75,000 black students were enrolled in colleges, almost all enrolled in historically black colleges and universities. In the 1960s, 3/4 of the black students went to historically black colleges, and by the 1970s, about 700,000 blacks enrolled in colleges. 3/4 now were going to predominantly white institutions. Even though they were able to go to white institutions, they had limited access because they were black.
We didn't have access to those counselors that were going to give us the benefit of their knowledge in terms of how to manipulate and wind our way through the university.
Because of federal laws like the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964 and the Fair Housing Act that was passed in 1968, it ended blatant discrimination against black people. People could rent and own housing in other areas once deemed for whites. These laws increased the number of black students attending colleges in general and especially in white institutions because of the federal oversight. Also around the country, the Black Power movement was gaining attraction, and black students and activists pushed for African American study departments and programs. 1968 to 1971, hundreds of African American departments and programs were developed. Black students protested, conducted strikes, sit-ins, and takeovers to create African American study departments in order to make campuses more diverse and relevant. By 1971, there was 500 colleges that provided full-scale African American study programs. In 1974, up to 1,300 institutions offered at least one course in African American studies. In 1968, there was 40,899 students on the Twin Cities campus total, and 87 black students on campus, less than 1%. John Wright, a black student at the U of M at the time, didn't like how talented black students skipped the U of M, choosing instead to travel thousands of miles to attend one of the traditionally black universities in the South. John Wright recruited black students door to door in the Minneapolis black neighborhoods. Many other black students at the U of M felt the same way, and they formed the Afro-American Action Committee, or the AAAC, and organized to address the climate and condition on campus. On April 27, 1967, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at the U of M St. Paul campus about the civil rights movement and what every citizen needed to do. Black students were motivated and really became active on campus. Then on April 4, 1968, black students were shocked and moved into serious action as a result of Dr. King's assassination by James Earl Ray at Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. Around the country, everyone was shocked. Hundreds of cities went up in flames. Black communities angered that such a peaceful man was assassinated. The black community and the students were determined to change society. Major white institutions really began to feel the pressure and change its practices toward black people. The AAAC with the local black community created a list of 7 demands to change the climate and conditions on the U of M campus. The AAAC presented these demands to the U of M's administration, and the administration stated that they would get back to the students with their response. After 9 months of no response from the U of M administration, the AAAC took action on Tuesday, January 14, 1969. A group of 70 black students marched from Kaufman Memorial Union to Morrill Hall, where Malcolm Moose and his administration was located. The AAAC was determined to get their demands met and stated to the administration they would not leave Morrill Hall until their demands were met. As the conflict grew, the building was cleared, furniture was used to help barricade the doors, and members of the Students for a Democratic Society, a predominantly white group, acted as buffers between the National Guard and black students inside Morrill Hall. "We basically expected to be jailed, most of us did," John Wright said. "There was a bit of trepidation, and of course, but we were hardly the first student protester to be jailed." Negotiations with the U of M administration went on till midnight, and both sides agreed to continue the next day. A crowd outside Morrill Hall grew increasingly hostile as it went up to nearly 600 by morning, with some protesters throwing ice and rocks, breaking at least 2 windows. Other students on campus and community members supported the black students in their demands in mode of protest. They brought tubes of Vaseline to help with combat mace and tear gas for the protesters, while other local civil rights leaders and visitors donated food, blankets, and other supplies. As local and national media publicized the event and support grew for the black students, administrators compromised with the students and agreed to the 2 of the 7 demands and agreed to work on the others in time, via a black student conference. So Wednesday afternoon, on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, the takeover was finished. Over the course of the 24-hour takeover, the damages done amounted to about $47,000 in today's money. Most people on campus hadn't learned of the protest until they heard Walter Cronkite announced on the evening news, but in the course of only days, monumental gains were made. Only 3 of the AAAC members were jailed: Rosemary Freeman, Horace Huntley, and Warren Tucker. It was said they were arrested for the damages, but a statement from Rosemary Freeman said white students caused the damages, not blacks.
Of Ms. Freeman and in terms of Dr. Huntley, they actually had to go to trial, and so the costs were heavy. They were accused of damages to Morrill Hall and looking at a jail term. In fact, the community came out in full force. Students on campus galvanized, organized, and from my perspective, those arrests probably did more to galvanize the students than did the actual takeover.
Around 750 protesters marched to the Hennepin County Courthouse. A member of the AAAC, Anna Stanley, spoke at the first day of trial, making a speech defending the AAAC members. Eventually, all charges against all 3 students were dropped. Moose and other administration agreed to 1. Scholarships for black underprivileged students. 2. By the fall of 1969, a Department of Afro-American Studies was set up. The university paid 1/2 of the expenses for a conference on campus to discuss how to move forward with the U of M on issues concerning black students. "This event transformed life on this campus," Wright said. "Things that were only wishes then have been institutionalized." There are now 67,949 students at the U of M, and in the whole Twin Cities campus, where the Morrill Hall is, there is 51,848 students there. 2,516 of them are black. From numbers of black students now coming to the U of M, there are groups that they can join, like the Black Student Union, who host events and go to other events, talk about their culture, and a group where black students can really fit in. There are buildings named after black students who stood up, like the Horace Huntley House, one of the 3 students arrested at Morrill Hall. The Dr. Robert J. Jones, who's named after the University Research Opportunity Center, and the Roy Wilkins Hall. There are other black activists who got awards for helping their community, like Dr. Josie Johnson, who has the Civil Rights Award named after her. There is still an Afro-American Study department where students are learning more, making the U of M better for black students.